Mark, the one that you particularly found interesting was this?
There are a number of them, yes. I mean, this, I think Edith mentioned sort of snake-like features. These zigzags are often features of these engravings. Then there's this structure with its rings, and that could be regarded as the centre of a comet, the nucleus and the coma. Here you see another zigzag, which could be often snake-like shapes in the sky follow fireballs. If you have a fireball going through, it leaves a trail which is then blown around by the very high altitude winds at about 60 or 100 kilometres high. And then there's this one, and if you come to the observatory, there's a beautiful comet called Comet McNaught, which was one of the great comets of 2007, I think it was. And this comet shows actually all these features, this sort of tail structure, the striated tail owing to the dust which is ejected from the comet as it makes its passage around the sun, as it swings around the sun. So it's very easy, with the eye of whatever prejudice you come to.
At least you're admitting that.
To see these things, yes. And I suppose in the end, one does have to ask the question, what drove people to put these big stones at the top of a hill in the possibly the pouring rain?
If there's anything like today, certainly.
In order to leave markings on them, and you can be sure that although some of these stones have modern graffiti, these particular ancient markings were not graffitied. They wouldn't have been allowed near them. They were there for a very significant purpose. And there's one other thing that might be worth mentioning. I don't know if it makes sense. There was an event in 1908 called the Tunguska impact,
yes,
which landed in Siberia with the explosive equivalent of about 10 megatons. And it flattened 2,000 square kilometres of trees in Siberia. And nowadays, when you go there, as I've had the good fortune to go there, you find there's nothing left. There's nothing to show of the impact, except a totem pole, which the down-to-earth scientists, Russian scientists, who would believe nothing of this sort of religious side, have erected. And they've erected a totem pole to Augher, who's the Siberian god who brings fire to the forest. So really all you have nowadays to observe is that people like me travel thousands of miles across the globe and lay a trinket or a bus ticket or a coin or something at Augher's feet in order to ensure that one day you might come back. And it's in that sense, I think, that one can begin to see a resonance with what might have happened in the past. Why here? Well, maybe once upon a time, not necessarily here, but associated with these sorts of monuments, there was a significant event which then entered the mythology, if you like, of the day, and became a reason for it having prominent graves installed here. It's only a guess, but it does show what can happen even in the 20th century, and with all our modern understanding.
Edith, you were showing me one stone that particularly interested you. I think sadly, or maybe interestingly, maybe a mixture of both, there's not only the carvings from 4,000 years ago, but there's carvings from 1951 and 1947 and
Absolutely.
more recently. This has unfortunately been an attraction for people who wanted to add their
own marks to the stones, yeah. First off, I'll just draw your attention. I mean, you've got the sort of cup and ring marks, as Mark had discussed before, but this little disc feature in the middle of the chevron patterns is quite unique in this type of artwork, and certainly is unique in Ireland, if not in the UK. You draw the attention to the modern graffiti, some of it not so modern, because none of it should be here post 1959, whenever the little house was built on top of it. But that sort of highlights the problem that we have had with this monument, and the reason why there has been this structure built above it. Sort of our department in its previous forms had erected a number of fences and things to try and protect the stones in the past, but in the end this sort of housed structure seemed to be the only solution, and it's certainly not unknown for this to have happened in sort of in the past as management of other monuments in the UK, so that was the solution that was brought here.